Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing wonderfully great. Today we're going to make a video about how to graft a fruiting pear onto a flowering or wild pear. So a couple of years ago I had some pear seeds fall into the ground and produce two relatively thick trunks, and I ordered these Korean giant pears, well, scions, I guess, so that I can go on ahead and graft them. And I thought to make a video about it. So, without any further ado, we're going to go on ahead and do that. Now, these two scions are relatively large, and the seller was generous enough to send me these with about 6 buds each. We won't really be needing that many, so I'm going to cut each of these in half and show you how I process them for maximum success. So for this specific scion here, I have a total of 5 buds, and I really need about 2 per each, preferably 3, but 2 is fine. Even 1 will do, to be honest with you, if you do this correctly, but 2 should be just about fine. Now the question is, where do we cut the scion? Do we cut it leaving a lot of this empty space towards the top or towards the bottom? And my opinion is that we are going to cut it somewhere over here, meaning leaving more of this empty space towards the bottom. That way, if our graft, if our tip is not cut correctly the first time, we still have a little bit of room to correct our error. So let me go on ahead and make that cut, and I'll get right back with you guys. So I went on ahead and cut it about there. This leaves us a little bit of leeway to cut our scion into shape, and we now have, as a result, 2 of these scions out of 1. Okay, so, and I'll show you how to seal this and make sure it doesn't dry and so forth and so on. Alright, so let's get to work. So these are the 2 volunteer pears that have fallen between my Irish pear and my flowering pear, which was here when we got the house. This pear I planted myself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these up, and I'm going to begin with the one that I want to graft first, which is the one here to the right. So anything below the grafting area, I'm going to go on ahead and cut. Now in this case, I am going to cut the entire volunteer pear down to about knee-high, so about here. And that way, anything that grows below it, I can easily prune off, and that way all the strength will go to the graft and not to the parent pear tree in case it wants to branch out. So let me go on again and get my tools, and I'll be right back. So for something like that, I'd use a tool such as this and go ahead and cut it, and I'll try and cut it as flat as I can. That way I can seal it off more easily. So stand by, I'll make that cut, and I'll get right back with you guys. Alright, so we've successfully cut off the top part of this tool. I'm going to go ahead and get a knife and clean this up a little bit so it's nice and flush. And this was the top part that we no longer need. I'm going to go ahead and chop this up and discard it. But this is basically where we're going to be performing our graft. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up just a little bit, and I'll get right back with you guys. Alright, so I've gone ahead and cleaned off the top here, made it a little more flush with, with a razor or a knife, whatever you have, anything that's nice and sharp. And now we're going to go ahead and prepare the 2 scions that we cut, and we'll be right back. So we want to create a wedge shape, so I've gone ahead and I cut it flat on one side, and I'm going to go on ahead and do the same thing on the other side. It's just that on this side the wedge will be a little bit smaller. Okay, so in the end it should look something like that. Okay, it doesn't have to be 100% straight, but it does have to be flush on both sides so that it can fit in the little pocket that we're about to make here. Okay, another thing I like to do is scrape these sides so that we have a little more contact with cambium layers from both the mother plant and the scion. Went ahead and scraped the sides also just a little bit, the more contact the better. And now we're going to go on ahead and see if we can fit it in the mother plant's trunk. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and make a cut wherever it is that I want to insert the scion. In this case, I'm probably going to put one on this side and one on this side, or here. It depends. I've got this trunk that I'll be working on here in about a minute with a different variety, but yeah, either sides anyway. Just cut them broad enough to where we can fit in the scion. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do that and get right back with you guys. All right, so I've decided to make the cut right here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the cambium layer, and in about a minute we'll see if we can fit in the scion. Next, I'm going to go on ahead and get my knife and slowly try and separate the cambium layer on both sides without hurting it. The trick here is to keep the cambium layer as much intact as possible. If you tear it, that's fine too, but maybe your chances of success might be slightly smaller. And then once that is done, go on ahead and take your wedge with the broad side in, and go on ahead and wedge that in there like so. You want to have as much contact as possible. If the scion is too thick, you can always go on ahead and remove part of the woody part of the stem. I might have to do that here actually. And either way, anyway, we're going to tie it down with some tape here in about a minute. But that's basically the process. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll get right back with you guys. Okay, so we've gone ahead and wedged this. We're going to tape this down with some electrical tape. I'll show you guys the process here in about a second. I'm not quite sure if we've done a good job here. I think this might be a little looser than I liked it in other times that I've grafted. And I have grafted hundreds and hundreds of times. I'll show you guys some other grafts that are seamless that I've done on pear trees and plum trees and many other varieties. But we're going ahead and hedge our bets and do another graft right over here. And hopefully this one we do a little bit of a better job on the other side. So this other one, we're going to do a little bit differently. We're going to cut a small wedge over here, and then we're going to raise the cambium layer and then insert the scion in that little wedge area that we cut. And the reason we're doing this is because exactly opposite to this is this little notch here. So it might not work well for us, so we're just going to have to skip it, in which case a wedge graft might work better. Alright, so there's the other scion that we prepared in a similar fashion, and we're going to go on ahead and see if we can insert it successfully in this little insertion that we made here, hopefully matching up all the cambium layers. Let me go on ahead and do that, and I'll tie these up and I'll get right back with you guys. Alright, so this is barely sitting in place. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use this twine to go on ahead and tie this as firmly as I can. Don't worry about hurting your graft or your parent tree, because ultimately that's what you want to do, is you want to bind these things as closely together as possible. And we're going to insulate it also with some electrical tape, so it's the graft is waterproof. Alright, so I've gone ahead and used this twine to hold it as firmly as I can in place. And next we're going to go ahead and use some electrical tape to insulate it from the elements and mostly from moisture. Okay. This is what our graft looks after we use the electrical tape. Tip, when you guys do use the electrical tape, make sure to stretch it as you apply it, and make sure that every little bit of both the scion and the mother tree is covered, at least where there's contact. We're going to take care of these in a slightly different way. We're not going to put electrical tape over there. Now the good thing about electrical tape is not only that it is stretchy, but it's also a very good insulator, and it also adheres to whatever medium it is that you're putting it on, even if it's wood. So this works out really, really well for us. Next, we're going to go ahead and put grafting tape on these to prevent moisture from escaping, because remember, these things have no roots and they have no other way of not drying out. So we're going to go ahead and use grafting tape on this, which is basically paraffin film, to prevent moisture from escaping. If you don't have that, just use saran wrap or whatever you have, that's fine too. This is what paraffin looks like, or paraffin film. And what I do is I estimate how much I need, and I go ahead and I cut off a piece. This will stretch to many, many times its original length. So don't think this is not going to be enough. This could well be enough to cover both the scions that we added. So let's go ahead and try that. All right, so I went on ahead and I put a generous amount of parafilm on these. Try not to double layer close to where the buds are. The buds are going to be strong enough to bust out of this parafilm, which will kind of fall apart through time. But if you double layer it, you might be hurting that particular bud. So anyway, that's what it should look like, and we're not done yet. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and put some saran wrap around these just to sort of insulate them a little bit. You can also put a paper bag if your tree is facing the sun. If your tree is on the south side, mine is not, so it's pretty well shaded, but I am going to go ahead and protect it with a little more of saran wrap. So all I've done here finally is to just lay a very thin layer of saran wrap over these buds. You can see it's open on both sides. The only reason I did it is to prevent any kind of, rain from coming in here, and I just tied it at the bottom with some electrical tape. I think that's all I'm going to do for this one. You could do more or less, but I think that is good enough for now. And we're going to go on ahead and try and graft another variety on this twin pear tree. Could be the same one growing two different trunks. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do for now. Hopefully this thing succeeds. We did graft it twice, so even if one of these takes hold, that's good, because we're going to have a Korean giant in our backyard. So yeah, that'll be pretty good. I did go ahead and graft the Korean giant last year, successfully so. So this was the graft, and this is a massive flowering pear that I'm probably going to be cutting down here sometime this year, because I really don't need it, but I am going to be keeping all these scions. You can see there's multiple scions all over that I've grafted onto this tree, and air layers as well. And this was where I grafted it last year. You see the electrical tape is still there, and the graft is healing quite well. So that's one of them. And another one that I did that is successful, but not as successful, is this one here. So yeah, hopefully these two that we put on today are going to be just as successful as the two that we put on last year. Alright guys, I'm going to cut the video off here. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.